to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Sadly, Anne-Marie is not feeling well today, but she will be back next week, so we will be looking forward to that return visit. But I do have a guest joining me today. I can't even pronounce anything today. Her name is Amita Sharma, and she is an expert at, well, I'm going to let her tell you about the expertise, but I can tell you just from the little quick snippet of conversation we had before we got going that this is definitely going to be of interest to a lot of our listeners, because a number of listeners are in the area of life that she ends up focusing her attention on. So with that little bit of tease going on there, because now I'm going to make you thinking about, like, okay, what the heck is this all about? Let's bring her on. Hey, Amita, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. And thank you for taking the time to do this with us. Give us a little bit of your background. Tell us what what you've been doing with your life, and how did you end up doing what you're doing now? And then I like I said, I kind of left it open so you can introduce it. Tell people what you're doing now, because you're doing something kind of unusual.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, my life has been a roller coaster. I must have changed like 5 different professions. I'm like the AIA, right? Generative AIA here. And started with the architecture, went into environmental engineering. Well, I did some architecture as well. And then from there went into software, and then software to selling online furnishings, interior design, really high-end designer stuff. Then working for companies like Walmart and Western Union, and now this, holistic wellness.
Holistic wellness. And very specifically, it's not just like all areas of holistic wellness. There's like one particular focus.
That's what I had left, the fill in the blank. Because
fill in the blank, okay. So fill in the blank for us. What is the particular focus?
Yeah, so the focus is on mid-age women. Initially, we are not excluding the men. The idea for mid-age women beyond the reproductive years, when they start inching towards the perimenopause, going post-menopause. That whole phase of a woman's life, when there are so many hormonal fluctuations, is a bit underserved. We did a lot of research, not much research as well, as far as what women should do. So that's the focus of holistic wellness that we are trying to bring out of the taboo and the stigma and offer solutions.
Let's talk about that taboo and stigma for a moment, because it's not something that many people perhaps give a lot of attention to, but it's fairly significant, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So look at the data of all we have in the workforce. Approximately 50% of the workforce is women now. And there's a data that came out that women over 55 are still in the workforce. They're entering workforce, new of them. So there's a lot more women who are working until they reach 65. So and if they're not paying attention to their health and wellness, what is going on, that can lead to a chronic condition later on, which the data says 80% of them have that after 65. 55, actually, not even 65, 55.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a shocking figure. I mean, It almost seems like, is that exaggerated? Did you check your numbers there, Amita? That's what it seems like.
I did. CDC, I'm not. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not. I just cite research. But the thing is, we have, as a society in the world, I'm not even talking United States, we have never paid attention to this phase of a woman's life, and men's life for that matter. The mid-age, we say, oh my God, we are going crazy mid-age, this, that, we have all these funny things, right? That we talk about mid-age. But in reality, men as well, but specifically for women, the hormones are going down, right?
And as I understand it, I know this is true for the men. I kind of presume it's true for the women. The hormones were actually going down long before 50s. They were going down starting, I think, in the 30s or 20s or something like that. But we just didn't pay attention to that because it didn't seem to matter at that point.
See, that's the thing, right? Everybody, like, let's talk about women for as a starting point. We know about menopause. Menopause happens in early 50s, 51, 52. But the hormones start going down what they call it perimenopause, at least 10 or maybe 12 years before that.
Hmm.
But we didn't even know about that. That's exactly your point. The perimenopause phase of a woman is so important, but we don't understand it. We don't know what to do with it. And that's the time when the women start having all these issues.
It's true. And on the male side, the same thing happens with testosterone going back into the 30s, as I understand it. Around age 30, all of a sudden we're starting to lose testosterone levels. Not dramatically, fortunately, otherwise we fall over dead, but nevertheless, it's it's falling off each year. So that by the time we're approaching that same age range, we're like at half the level we were at before. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yes, yes, absolutely. For men, yes, but for women, there are over 35 plus symptoms that are recorded that women can go through during this
35.
perimenopause
Wow.
phase.
35. I mean,
Yeah, maybe more. I mean, not that all 35 are going to bombard at you
well, I
at
hope
one
not.
time.
No, that would be absolutely miserable. But any of them is bad enough.
Yes, but typically, if you think about it, right, I can just share my example. When I started getting this perimenopause, I didn't even know that I was going through perimenopause and exactly caught. Most of the women are caught off guard.
Sure.
They are not prepared. They're surprised. All those things, right? So I started getting hot flashes as an example. And at night, I would get night sweats and I wouldn't be able to sleep properly. Then in the morning, I'm like a complete walking zombie and I can't concentrate on my work. I get a brain fog. My productivity at work goes down, right? Guess what? My mental anxiety goes up. So here it is, 4 and 5 symptoms, all correlated.
Yeah.
And weight gain is another one. Now I'm fine, but work very hard on that. But weight gain is another problem that happens to majority of the women, especially in the abdominal area. It's like not one thing, like I said, it's like 4 or 5 things. They all kind of club together.
That actually makes sense. I'm currently divorced, but when I was married, my ex went through menopause, and what you're describing is a very accurate depiction of what she experienced. I mean, she had multiple symptoms that went on. Like you said, they affected sleep, they affected work, they affected all areas of her life. And there isn't a whole lot out there for women or for men with their stuff too. But there's really not a lot out there for women to, what do I do with this? How do I work my way through this? I mean, usually they talk to their friends and their friends say, well, you just get through it. We all get through it. That's about the extent of it, right?
Yeah, talking to the divorce part, it also impacts relationships because women don't feel that they can talk to their partners openly because they themselves don't understand what the heck is going on. And now they don't expect you or anyone else to understand what's going on with their mind and body.
And that's a big one for me because that pretty much summarized how I ended up in divorce.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Maybe you should ping her and tell her I did not know about this at that time.
Well, I mean, I knew that she was going through it, but what you were describing about how communication patterns shift, behavioral patterns shift, all that shifted.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that was all menopause. In fact, I figured there was other stuff going. It never occurred to me that was driven by the menopausal experience.
Yes, that's unfortunately, there's a lot of data that talks about gray divorce going up, right? We've read the data. Even in UK, they're saying 60% of the divorce that goes is happening towards menopause during the menopausal years to women. But the problem is they don't understand that is all these physical changes and mental changes that are happening. You're not able to communicate. You feel that you think that you're going crazy and you can't tell the other person thinks you're going crazy. So it's like a, snowball effect, right? Then before you know it, it's like, oh my God, it's blown now.
And then you start building in. I mean, for us, we got past the menopause, or I thought we did, and got into the 60s. But by that time, everything was starting to fall apart very slowly, one little bit at a time. So, I mean, we thought we were years past that whole transition period. So it couldn't be that. It had to be something else.
Yeah.
And yet I didn't have a whole lot of answers as to what it was. So, I mean, you're kind of raising my eyebrows like, oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Because, the libido, one of the symptoms is also a libido, loss of libido for women. And they are now embarrassed sometimes to talk about it, even to their, I don't know if they go talk to OBGYN, and OBGYN what she tells, because she also hasn't been taught
Mhm.
about this in her medical school. See, that's the whole cycle.
There's a
Where
cycle
you,
there. Yeah.
right? You go to OBGYN. She hasn't been taught about menopause, perimenopause in her medical school. She's been taught about the fertility. Now, what is she going to tell you? Give you some medication. Now you go to a therapist and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not going crazy. I have to go to a therapist. So it's like a chain reaction.
Wow.
You don't have a source where you can go get credible information as to, okay, I am normal. This is okay. I'm not going crazy. I just have to navigate this phase of my life, and I have to tell my partner or spouse or whatever, this is what's going on.
So we've raised a whole lot of problems here, a whole range of problems. How do we go about solving? we got to solve some problems, otherwise we're going to be driving people crazy here.
I'm just pointing out the fact that this is bothering millions of people in the world, and we are not saying it out openly. And it's high time that all of us are highly educated people. We need to tackle this issue as well, the way we have tackled other issues.
So are we saying that we really don't have a lot of answers yet? This is more just raise awareness and then see what comes out of the raising of awareness?
No. There is a lot of work that's being done. I don't want to disappoint the readers. People are coming out. There are a lot of options now for women. I'm not going to talk about men. There are holistic lifestyle options, lifestyle modifications, dietary modifications that women can do to help themselves. And then there is HRT as well, which I think is what the research says is safe. Bioidentical hormone therapy, if women want to go through that. So there are a lot of options, from self-care, like holistic therapies, to experts who can help them with naturopathic doctors or functional medicine doctors. And if a woman wants to go through bioidentical hormone therapy, so there is a ways you can do that. We have come a long way in the last, I would say, 3-4 years. But the first thing is, a woman has to understand what is going on. The introspection part is very important. Like, what the heck is going on with her body, her mind, what kind of symptoms she's facing, and what kind of lifestyle she has. She needs to embrace the holistic lifestyle, or make holistic lifestyle modification and dietary modifications. That's like non-negotiable.
Interesting you mentioned the HRT also, because that was something that she had considered, and I had considered a similar thing from the male side. But at the time we were going through it, there wasn't a whole lot of trust for it. And we didn't trust it. Neither one of us trusted it at all. So we both said no to it without hardly even giving it a look, because there was just so little information to suggest that it was actually an okay thing to do, that we were going to be safe. It wasn't going to in some way mess our chemistry up. So we kind of like, oh, no, stay away. We don't want that. I'm glad to hear that it's shifted a bit. I mean, to the point where there's a feeling that there's a safety going on there, because at the time we didn't feel safe at all.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not an HRT expert, but all I can say is that there was some work done in 1970s that the HRT was given wrong, to women. As a result, it resulted into some few women getting cancer. So everybody got so scared. But and so there's a whole science behind this HRT, but they've come a long way since then. And now in UK, at least, the HRT is readily available. Even, I don't know about in the United States. I think women are still beginning to understand what this is. It's still a relatively new concept here. But as far as the research and as far as the OBGYN that I have personally talked to, it is relatively safer. But you need to consult with the expert, right? But bioidentical hormone therapy is safer. That's what the research says. So there are a lot of different type of HRT. Not that we are getting into that today, but before anyone gets into the HRT, see, you asked me how did I get into, and I actually started researching into the holistic lifestyle because of the symptoms that I started facing, and I didn't get any answers, when I went to OBGYN and so many other places. So I was confused, muddled. I needed to work. I needed the job. I needed the money. I couldn't sit home with my, every day sweating like a pig and thinking that, oh my God, like I can stop working. Not an option. I had to find something. So I researched a lot in the holistic wellness, in the holistic therapy. So examples like making dietary modifications, the exercise, the yoga, the Ayurveda, the breathing, you name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed over 3,000 holistic experts from all over the world to
Wow.
understand this.
Wow.
And it works, is what I was going to tell you.
Okay.
Yes, it works. So now, if someone is having very severe symptoms, right, that's a different story. You need to go see a medical doctor, or you need
Mm-hmm.
to see a functional medicine doctor. Even for holistic, you should see a holistic, medicine expert or holistic expert to tailor it to your personal body and mind constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman is different.
Sure.
You can't say, okay, what worked for me would work for someone else.
Which makes total sense. Yeah, because especially with something that is relatively, how should I say it? Relatively under researched compared to other medical modalities. Let's put it
Yes.
that way.
Correct.
For something like that, you need to have expertise because it's not like we have it, and
Yes.
we're a few years away from having the AI who can lead you through that. So yeah.
Absolutely. The AI is going to lead us through everything, right? So
Right.
we know.
So yeah, it becomes very important to have that kind of expertise to tie into. Let's talk a little bit about the approach, the mental approach, the mindset approach that's involved, because you mentioned the holistic, and holistic implies that there's a mindset involved.
Yes.
Talk about that from your perspective. What you find to be most important to keep in mind for someone who's going through something like this.
So 50% of the women are going through anxiety and depression when they're going through perimenopause. The data is very high because of all the reasons we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So now how you compose your mind, right? How you make sure that you are functioning properly. That's so important, to keep your mind insane, keep your mind calm.
Mm-hmm.
So now when the mental health is concerned, the gut health is connected through the vagus nerve. We know about that.
Right.
So keeping your mental health and gut health in check becomes very, very important during these years. Of course, all these symptoms we know about all the symptoms, but that's the first thing that women should really pay a lot of attention to, their gut health and the mental health. Mm-hmm. If they keep these two things in check, then other things can, the other therapies that I talked about, they can navigate that other thing, all the other symptoms.
Let's go into that in a little bit more detail, because I think this idea of the connection between not only mind and body, but also mind and gut, that's been getting a lot of attention in a lot of different ways over the last 5, maybe 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. Yeah. And for good reason. Let's talk more specifically, though, about what is known particularly about that connection where perimenopause and menopause are concerned. What do we know about that?
So there's not, what we know about perimenopause, about mental health, is the data that I shared with you. A lot of women have anxiety issues because of all the things, all the symptoms that we talked about. And the gut also, that a lot of women also have abdominal bloating, right here. And they also put on a lot of weight right around the abdominal area.
Sure.
And a lot of women also have issues with their, constipation, their gut health. Because there's a lot of water retention, and what happens is during the early years of the perimenopause, when the perimenopause starts, the two female sex hormones that we have, the estrogen and the progesterone starts going down first, and the estrogen is a little bit still high. So the balance between the two hormones, there's an imbalance that can happen. It's very common, actually. So what they call it is estrogen dominance. So due to that, the gut health goes crazy because the balance is not there, and women tend to put on weight, and also abdominal weight, and then this whole constipation and the gut, so the gut health, if the gut health is not good, meaning they're not pooping every day, things like that, and the digestion is not going on properly, and then the mental health also goes for a toss, and then all the other symptoms, if you can imagine, if they're having hot flashes, in addition to what I just described, and then you're not able to sleep properly. So you can imagine the whole problems with the gut health, the mental health, the hot flashes, right? So everything comes together. So it's important for women to understand that the estrogen dominance, the hormones are balanced. It's all about balancing of the hormones for women to have a good, all the things that we are talking about. Hormone balance becomes extremely, extremely important so that they can navigate this journey, because the hormone fluctuations, the way they're fluctuating, it's crazy. It's like a roller coaster ride. And that's why we say a lot of women have mood swings, right?
Sure.
During this time, and say, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And a lot of women, make fun of that. And then also they forget sometimes, right? They like simple things. Oh my God, it's like brain fog, like brain freeze, right?
Right.
So all that is happening because of hormonal fluctuations. Even the fat part, the abdominal fat, is happening because of hormonal fluctuation. As a result, the gut health goes for a toss. So to all these, the solve this whole puzzle, it's very complicated, but to make it a little bit simple, if women can understand how to have their hormones in balance, in check, then other things can be taken care of, is what I'm saying.
So essentially, start with your medical provider, with your medical doctor, to get tested to find out where your levels are at, and then make determinations based on what you find out. That sounds like that's what the message is.
So the problem here is that your hormones are fluctuating so much, you don't even know what the baseline is. That's the problem.
Right.
You can understand, right? It's not like, let's say I take a test in the afternoon, but in the evening, my hormones would be different. In the morning, it'll be different.
Ah, okay.
Right?
So what do we do? What's the strategy
So
then? How do you go about this?
I'm telling you, it's erratic. So, so some of the people, they were saying, get your hormones tested when you're normal, like when the hormones are normal. So you know what the baseline is, like in your 30s or something, right?
So in other words, anticipate that this is coming along in your life at some point, probably in the next few years, and now's the time to find out what the baseline is, so I know what I'm measuring against.
Yeah, because a lot of experts say measuring the hormones sometimes will not yield the accurate results because of the hormone fluctuations. So most of these, I mean, there's a Dutch test, what they call it is a Dutch test that would measure each and every hormone very carefully. So yes, you should talk to a medical provider, if you are experiencing the symptoms, which are like, oh my God, I cannot handle it by myself. So that is absolutely that you should do that. And by at least you can understand doing the lab test if the hormones are proportionally in balance or not. That part, yes, you can see. Let's say with the way I was describing earlier, the estrogen can be dominant and the progesterone is going down. That ratio, yes, you can understand that. Right?
Okay.
That part you can be understood. But there is other things that women can do to help themselves to manage the hormone balance we're talking about. Is really embracing a holistic lifestyle, changing their dietary habits, getting rid of red meat, as an example, the alcohol, the caffeine. There's a lot of things women can start doing before they keep rushing into whoever they want to go to a medical provider. They can start at least the first part of journey by self-care, of helping themselves, embracing all the holistic lifestyle.
Is there any data that's been collected as to the effectiveness of starting with this holistic approach before looking at the other stuff? What do we know about it?
So I'm not saying don't go and look into the medical provider. What I'm saying
of course,
is,
yes.
right, irrespective of the fact you go to the medical provider and they give you whatever, you still need to take care of yourself. Yes, absolutely. There is data of food is medicine. We know that. We know that exercise, movement is medicine. If we don't eat properly, we don't nourish our body with the proper diet and nutrition, we don't move our body. We know that. There's a ton of data on mindfulness. There's a ton of data on meditation, ton of data on yoga. Right. There's amazing data on hypnotherapy, hypnosis, talk therapy, CBT, aromatherapy. Even then, not a lot of scientific data, but still enough to get you going. Acupressure, Ayurveda daily lifestyle, some therapies, herbs and supplements that Ayurveda has, like ashwagandha, turmeric. We have data. It's just putting all these pieces together as to putting the part of the puzzle as to what will work for you.
Right. I guess I was
Right?
thinking, I mean, you're right, that kind of data on the broad scale is abundant. It's all over the place. I was
Yeah.
wondering, is there data specifically targeted toward women who are perimenopausal and
Mhm.
menopausal? In other words, is that data come out in terms of what happens when they adopt a change in the mindset?
There is data. I mean, there's not like thousands and thousands of research,
Sure.
but there is enough data on herbal supplements or all the things that I talked about that yes, women can start this. At least they can start this whole process. There is enough research. There are
Mhm.
not so many, like for each medication there is like they have to do so many blind. There's so many trials and all the clinical trials, all those. Yes, that kind of data is not available, but there is enough research that
Mhm.
has been done on
Mhm.
herbal supplements, on different type of foods, different type of yoga poses, different type of pranayama, the breathing practices when you combine with the yoga poses and also with the meditation. There is enough data that you can get started.
Okay, so that's encouraging for someone who's looking for a quick way to find that data. I mean, do they have to go do their own research? I mean, is there like a resource they can go to? What's the shortcut?
So that's what I started. That's exactly I did for the last 2-3 years. That's the research that I've been doing, is
Mhm.
collecting that data and how to present it to women out there so they can
Mhm.
go through it very carefully, according to what their symptoms are. And that's what this platform that we have created is a holistic wellness platform for women, specifically for women in mid-age, perimenopause or post-menopause. And in that we are walking, guiding these women according to the type of symptoms they have, different type of nutrition, different type of exercise, all the things that I talk about. They can start at least consuming bite-sized information and start implementing actionable things that they can do, in addition to if they want to go to the BHRT and other things we talked
Sure.
about, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if they don't do this, no matter what kind of medication, you can do all kind of medication, but if you don't take care of yourself, the mind body connection, what we
Right.
call it,
Right.
it's no good.
This is true. Very true. So good. All right. So we got to. I was trying to find a nice way to get there so that you could actually tell us about the platform rather than me trying to tell about the platform. So I'm glad we got there. That's good. So let's talk about that platform. Let's talk about what can be found in it. Um, Describe perhaps what a typical journey through it would be for somebody who's feeling her way.
Yeah, so we wanted to make this super affordable. That was our one first criteria.
Okay.
So anyone, any woman, we're going to price it less than $10 a month.
Hmm.
So let's say the journey is perimenopause or postmenopause. We
Hmm.
have defined that. So the first criteria is you understand what perimenopause is, because lot of women don't understand what perimenopause is.
Hmm.
And then the postmenopause, a lot of women don't understand. Then based on their symptoms, because some of the symptoms in peri and post can be different, because in post you're much older, right?
Hmm.
And you could have bone health issues or some heart issues, or weight issues can also come here. Based on the symptoms, we have created over 21 different programs that are
Wow.
self-served. And self-serve meaning all the data is coming from the experts, the holistic experts from all over the world. But these are bite-sized information, bite-sized actionable things that women can understand what peri and post is, and then start taking some measures based on the symptoms. So like I said, there are 35 plus symptoms. We've taken about 21 of them. We haven't taken every single thing, but we've tried to cover as much as we could. Now, if the self-care part is not, you know, like you need more, right? It's not sufficient for some of the women. They said, "Oh my God, I'm still having hot flashes. I'm not able to. I've done all my self-care, whatever you told me, but I need more help."
Hmm.
Then the next step would be, you could consult, or we put a concierge team around that woman, in the sense
Oh,
that she can do a consultation, proper consultation with a naturopathic doctor, a dietitian,
well,
and a movement expert. Movement could be someone, some women don't want to do yoga, or they want to do something else, whatever. And maybe a counselor, the mental health we talked about, that's very important. So that pricing goes approximately $250 and something like that. And
mhm.
and and then you go in for 4 or 5 months, because you might need also BHRT. I don't know. Nobody knows that until you get there.
Right.
So that's the journey. The journey is self-care less than $10. The next journey is actually $50-$60, where the experts will come, live sessions. Women can ask questions in group format, and the experts will be there every week. And then the third one is, okay, I want one-on-one concierge. You need tell me what's wrong with me. That's the third part. So that's how we wanted the tiered approach. So women are actually supported at wherever stage they are, and whatever if they have severe symptoms, they go to the third one. If they have okay but still want to get to understand what all these issues are, they get to the first one. Or if they want in between, I can handle it myself, I need a little bit of nudging every week, okay, go to the second one.
And I like the fact that you are providing a way for women to connect with others who are experts in the field and
Yes.
are able to help them, because there are two pieces to that I think are really important. One piece is that they're experts. They know the topic, they know
Yes.
the research, they know what's available, all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
The second part is the human connection part, which is
Yes.
almost the more important part.
Yes.
Because I'm realizing that with a project of my own that I'm working on. The human connection is probably the most underestimated piece of all of these puzzles, not just the menopause, but all of the medical and relationship and health and wealth and all that. All of the puzzles are so dependent on that human connection, and it's the one piece that is neglected the most.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that that's a part of it. That's important.
Yeah, because if you see some of the people, other apps, they're all like self-serve, meaning AI generated, right? All those things. But right from the beginning, we always wanted to provide, even in the self-serve, we'll have once a month expert coming. Maybe we'll increase it to more. Right now, and there will always be a guide. They can always chat with someone like a human, not an AI. So because the human element in women in this age group is so important,
Yeah.
because if they don't talk it out to a real person, a real human, look what can happen. They can end up all these things, right? Relationships, and what the way they're feeling. So that's why we want to provide the human touch of counseling, a guide, an expert, even with other women. They can also have interaction with other women who are going through the same thing, so they feel supported.
Well, and this is a key portion of it as well, I would think, because you were identifying earlier quite accurately, I thought, that even among their peers, among the
Yes.
people they socialize with, people don't know. So it's not enough to connect with other women. You have to connect with other women who are kind of on that
Yes.
same exploration path, right? Who are learning stuff, who have stuff to share with you. Otherwise, the connection it has some value. It just doesn't have the same level of value as when you're connecting with someone who has, grabbed some information. You're talking with somebody who they found something. Well, let me share with you what I found. Oh yeah, that reminds me of something I found. And so you're feeding each other, kind of like when we do a podcast. We're feeding each other stuff that just kind of builds not only the knowledge, but it also builds the energy.
That's right. And sometimes, you don't want to talk to your girlfriends about your menopausal journey.
Gee, I wonder why.
I mean, you're going out for drinks or you're going out for dinner. You want to have a good time. The last thing you want to do is, oh my God, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. So maybe that's not the right forum. So, but this is the right forum and you could be anonymous, you don't have to, like some women don't want to share what their, whatever their real identity is. You can feel safe that I can come in and I can ask questions, what is bothering me, and you can be open about it and not be judged. See, that's the problem. Like, we feel that, like even in friends, sometimes you say something and you feel that, oh my God, this person is going to judge me now. Guess what? Next time I can't say it. So we as humans, we have this whole thing of being judged by other people all the time. And that's what I felt, that I'm just trying to put in the product of how I felt, that I could not go talk to anyone, because I thought, oh my God, this person is going to judge me. They're going to think that I can't do my work properly. They're going to think, oh my God, now you're getting old, all those things, right? And I'm like, I was like barely at that time, and perimenopause, I'm like, oh my God, I just turned 40, and what am I going to do, right? So it's like all these feelings start coming, and then you feel, oh, who do I go talk to? I have no one to go talk to. I can't
Mm,
talk to my spouse. I can't talk to my girlfriends. I think, oh, something's gone wrong with her. I can't talk to this. I go to my doctor. She gives me this. So a lot of women go through this. They need a safe place.
I'll tell you, you're making me reflect back on what led to my divorce,
Yes.
because the way my listeners know the story, but it was a very confusing process for me because my ex, who was a former psychotherapist,
Oh, wow.
basically shut down the last few years and stopped communicating, and I never understood why. In fact, I've detailed here on the show many times. I wish he had talked to me. I don't understand what
Yeah.
happened. You're the first
Yeah.
person to come along that gave me an explanation that actually
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, maybe that's what it was. I don't know
Hmm.
for sure. Obviously, I can't know that for sure,
Yeah.
but maybe that's what it was at the root of it. I have no idea what I could have done to help, but I
Yeah.
mean, at least now that gives me a little sense of, oh, there's a little bit of closure that goes on there.
Yeah, because women feel like that. I'm telling you from my experience. I did not want to talk to anyone. And I was so scared and ashamed. Ashamed as well. Maybe ashamed is also in the sense of like, I used to think, what will people think of me? I never talked to anyone in my family. And here I am in front of you now, right?
Mm,
I'm serious. So then it started actually when I started talking and I started bothering me, to be honest with you, that I said, here I am working in a high tech and working in the cutting edge technology. Shame on me for not doing anything, right? Seriously. I said to I thought about myself. I'm like, what kind of education I'm going, and I can't even speak up, like, right? So I literally started telling myself, like, I need to say something. I need to, and I started talking to my team. I said we were thinking of holistic wellness,
mhm.
and these guys, my team was saying, no, 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 let's focus on fertility. Like the usual suspects. Oh, let's focus on postpartum. I said,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. We're going to focus on this, and they were looking at me. What the heck is gone wrong with this woman? I said, we are focusing on this whole journey of perimenopause.
Very interesting that you're describing this. I mean, literally, this is making some sense to me in a way that what happened to me over the last couple of years didn't make any sense, and obviously not just to me. I'm just
Yeah,
describing what my side of the experience was.
yeah.
But and quite honestly, I wish I had known. I
Hmm.
don't know what I could have done, but I would have
Yeah,
at least I could have been more sympathetic, because I could have said, "Hey, I understand you're going through this." I didn't even know
yeah,
she would. I mean, I knew she had gone through the
yeah,
menopause.
yeah,
There really wasn't a whole lot of talk after the menopause period.
yeah.
The conversation about that just kind of dissipated. So my natural um, understanding would be, well, then we're done with that. That part's over.
Yeah. No, no, no. It
How would I
continues.
know?
It continues because think about it. Postmenopause, your hormones are now, they started here. We talked about this, and they
Mhm,
started kind of going down, and they're here now.
mhm,
Now, the symptoms of a loss of libido, it can continue, or it can just continue in postmenopause. Weight gain will there. Now, bone health is there. The pain is there. The fatigue is there because of all these things that are happening. And then, of course, the hot flashes maybe have gone down, but other things creep up, right?
mhm.
So I don't know, like case by case basis, but on a very high level,
Sure.
fatigue, pain management, loss of libido, and postmenopausal women, sleep becomes an issue. If you haven't had a good sleep, we know what happens in the morning. You are cranky. Abdominal weight maybe hasn't gone away. So if any of these above that I talked about is going on,
Mhm.
and again you feel that you can't talk to anyone, you can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
You want to
Eh,
be by yourself. That's what happens, right?
yeah, and yet that's obviously the time when you most need to talk to somebody.
Yes, yes. And that's I did not talk to anyone, and I felt like, oh my God.
Mm.
So then I said, no, I have to talk not to one person, I have to bring it out now. And that's, I don't know how I got the courage to start
Congratulations for doing
talking.
that. That's not easy to do.
No, it's very difficult to do, but
I could, because I get the sense that, I mean, again, this is something I only knew somewhat vicariously because I was on the other side of the
yeah,
relationship, right?
yes, yes.
But I really had no clear sense, even having gone through it with her,
Yeah.
of just how extensive this could be.
It can be, yeah, especially if you haven't taken any help, like any advice from medical, like any health provider, right? Like I said earlier,
Well, from what you were saying, the health providers don't even necessarily give you the right information. I mean, you have to be selective about who you're getting this from.
you have to know where to go. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. But things have become better in the
which is
last
good.
few years. I
Yeah.
must say that, there are more health providers who understand this. At least in UK, there's so much more awareness. The British Menopause Society is actually very, very active. They're actively now training their doctors on menopause. So maybe not as much here in the United States, but in Britain, yes. So you could have got, you could go to the UK to get that information in internet years. But it's improved, but still you have to know where to go and who understand this. You're right.
The platform that you and your team have put together, is that
Yeah.
platform aimed particularly at women in the UK, or would it apply to women in the US? In other words, would it be helpful to them in terms of being able to connect with professionals? Because we were talking earlier about how important those connections are. And so I'm wondering, can US women connect to the platform and get the same value, or is it not going to work quite as well because you're in the UK?
Oh, no. The experts we are going to bring on the talks we talked about could be from anywhere in the world, right? It doesn't
Okay.
have to be United States, because as long as we are doing the education part, the group talk, I can bring expert from anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
Now, when the one-on-one comes,
That's what
right,
I'm
the
wondering
third
about. Yeah.
one, that's the one we have to bring. We have to follow the rules here of the United
Right.
States. Amongst the states, the state has all these. So that time we have to make sure we bring in the right expert who understands within that state,
Hmm.
who is well trained within menopause, like
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
So, but before that, we can bring anyone. There's no
Mhm.
problem.
Well, that part makes sense. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking about the one-on-one type situations,
Yes. Yes.
because
We have to.
for a woman who doesn't really have any clear idea of how to address this, because her family doctor doesn't really seem to know
Yes.
much, and her
Yeah.
OBGYN doesn't seem to
Yeah.
really have a whole lot of information, where does she go? And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering,
Yeah.
can she go through your
Yeah.
website and through your
Yes.
portal and find the people that she needs to help her in her area?
Yeah, we are. So like the OBGYN we have connected with, he has oh my God, he has over 30 years of experience at
Mhm.
least, and he was one of the few OBGYNs in this country who started BHRT.
Mm.
Like that's a kind of you know experts we will bring for one-on-one, because
Mhm.
he's extremely knowledgeable. He's gone through this whole, he knows the history of what happened in 70s, and then he's gone through that. So we'll bring, and he has a network of other experts throughout the country that he trusts. So that way we'll bring in the trust factor, and we'll bring in someone who understands the BHRT as an example, for as I gave you, OBGYN who has 40 plus years of experience, right? So that way women feel, okay, yes, he understands the history of
Mhm.
what has gone through HRT, right?
Mhm. Right.
That's important, because otherwise someone who doesn't understand, and then it becomes very difficult. So,
Yeah.
so there's a curated, of course, highly curated network that
Sure.
we bring, and it will be based on, like I said, leveraging some highly experienced people who have 40 plus years, 30 plus years, or even at least 20 plus years of going through at least the OBGYN. The dietitian part is not such a big deal, because that could be, that's easier, the movement and the dietitian and the hypnotherapy and the counseling. But I think the
Mhm.
main part is the main person, whether it's a naturopathic doctor or the OBGYN or the functional medicine, that main person needs to understand, the whole
Yeah, absolutely.
entire thing.
And as you alluded to a moment ago, the problem is not just for UK and US women, because this is, it's a global
Yes.
situation. We have
Mhm.
listeners in Australia and New Zealand. We have a significant number of listeners in Iran, of all places. We have listeners in
Oh my
Canada.
God.
I mean, they're really all over. So it becomes very important for any listener who's not our target US market, who are picking up this information. It's important for them to know that there are resources for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, Iran, some of the Muslim countries, I can share some of the data. I have the data for Sudan. and the women in some
I
of the
said
Muslim
Iran, didn't I?
countries.
I'm sorry, I meant
No,
Iraq.
you said Iran, but I have the data
Yeah.
for Sudan.
Oh,
The
okay.
reason is I was just bringing the fact of the Muslim countries where the women have sedentary lifestyle. That's what I was trying to
Okay.
emphasize, the fact they are, majority of them are getting into menopause 5 and 6 years earlier
Mm.
than women in US. And
Hmm.
that's not good. And that's what I was pointing out. The
Mm.
same story is for women in India.
Mm.
They're getting into menopause at 46, 47. And
Wow.
same as in Sudan, maybe in Iran, the same data. I haven't checked it. But most of the Muslim country women are getting into menopause in their mid 40s, not early 50s. That's the point I was.
Do we know why? I mean, is it because of the sedentary lifestyle, or is there any clear data about that?
There's not clear research per se, but at least I looked a lot into Indian,
Mhm.
what is happening in India, since is sedentary lifestyle. They said family relationships could be stressful because of the joint family systems that those
Okay.
cultures have, right? Women are generally suppressed. Not anymore, I think. I mean, but that's what the culture says. But I think we've come a long way, for the women empowerment. But these are the general themes that they talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I should say that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think a country like India, day-to-day life, sedentary lifestyle, not in much time for exercise, a lot of air pollution in those countries, all
Mm.
these combination and dietary habits, believe it or not, even though Ayurveda yoga is coming from India, but the dietary habits are not good. It's
Yeah.
funny, but it's not good.
It's funny, but not funny. Yeah.
No, it's yes. They don't eat on time, all the things they preach,
Mm.
but they don't do it themselves, or what. So Iran, I don't know, but that's the data I found in a
Yeah.
lot of Muslim countries.
Yeah. And what I was trying to clarify earlier, I found that it isn't the Iranians, it's Iraqi. I have a
Oh,
lot of Iraqi,
Iraqi. Oh,
but
Iraqi.
but
Okay.
but I mean, same general area of the
Yeah,
world.
yes. The same Middle
Right.
East. That is what the data I found in the Middle East.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very important stuff.
Yeah.
This has really brought out how, well, first of all, it's brought out for me how underappreciated the issue is.
Mhm.
I mean, if you had asked me before we got started, is this an important issue? I would have said, "Pfft, I have no reason to believe that it is. Tell me about it. But now I have some appreciation of it.
Yeah,
And
because it can impact people's lives.
oh yeah. Well, not just that it impacts people's lives. I don't think I understood how extensive it is, not just in terms of the number of women, because obviously all women go through it at some point, but rather how extensive it is in terms of the impact, the
Yes.
long-term impact. I mean, because again, we tend to think of it as humans. We tend to think of it as something that, well, you reach this time of life and things change in that time of life, and
Yeah.
that's the end of it. We think
Yes.
about it in those terms. It isn't true,
Yeah. Yeah.
apparently, from what you're telling us, but
Yeah.
that's the way we think about it. And so, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense that
Yeah.
once a woman has gone through that change and she's come out the other side, she hasn't actually come out. And then she doesn't know what to make out of that because all of the information that she has tells her, well, it's done by then.
That's a problem even I didn't understand. Believe me. I just started trying to put a puzzle together
Mm,
to my personal story. And the more I started digging into it, like I told you, we started with the holistic wellness and we pivoted.
mm,
Because the more I started digging into this whole, I was looking into the entire stages. I mean, thinking of focusing on postpartum, normal, postpartum, that whole area, fertility. And the more I started digging into perimenopause, I said, "Oh my God, I know." I had no clue. And the more I started talking, I said, "No, we have no clue what the heck you're talking about." The more I started digging into it, and I realized that not much research, not much discussion about this whole phase. People don't understand the depth what you and I are
mhm,
talking about, that how it,
mhm.
it can impact.
Right.
And I said, we are just not paying attention as a society in the whole world. And now, of course, a lot of companies, a lot of women are talking about menopause. Has become a buzzword now. I'm
Mhm.
sure in New York Times, everywhere they're saying, "Oh my God, New York menopause is the next $1 billion opportunity. Get on this bandwagon." Seriously, I'm not kidding you.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
The next
yes.
investment opportunity. Got it.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what you know how it is, right? They
Oh
said,
yeah.
"Oh, the next opportunity is menopause," and
Right.
That's what New York Times had. New York Times had an article, or one of those Wall Street or one of these places. They had an article. Next $600 billion opportunities,
Oh my goodness.
menopause.
Yeah.
But they didn't detail out the nitty-gritty details, right? They talk about the supplements. They talk about, okay, take a supplement for heart flash, take a supplement
Hmm.
for sleep, take a supplement for XYZ.
Hmm.
That's not going to solve all the problems, right? Until you understand the root cause of what's going on inside the body and the mind.
Yeah, what you mentioned earlier about the common problem being a higher level of estrogen compared to
Mhm,
progesterone. I
mhm.
mean, I don't think I certainly had no awareness of that. And
Yeah,
well, I'm not a woman, so maybe that
yeah.
helps to explain it, but I don't know. Is that something that's well known about women? I get the feeling
No,
it probably isn't.
no, 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 no. I'm telling you, not many women understand. They keep complaining. Most of the women, keep talking about, oh my God, I put on weight. Like most of the women
Mm,
end on putting on weight. It's a very
mhm,
common thing we talked about. And it's not easy to come out. And they start dieting. They start eating less. And guess what happens? Your nutritional deficiencies start increasing because most of
mhm.
the women, my friends I know, say, oh, Mom, I don't even eat much. I just eat a little bit here, a little bit there. But that is
Right,
wrong. That is
right.
again wrong because you are now not putting the right nutrients that you
Mhm.
need to nourish your body during this time. You're avoiding all this. Guess what's going to happen?
So you're setting yourself up even though you don't realize you're setting yourself up.
Yeah, and they don't understand because they think by eating less, they will lose the weight. There's nothing happens because it's actually becomes worse.
And that's a complaint I've heard before. I mean, I think
Hmm.
anyone who's ever had any guests on talking about weight loss has heard something similar to that.
Yeah,
Never really made that connection to menopause, though.
yeah,
That's
it
kind of
is. It is the hormones, it's all now the puzzle, right? If you put the puzzle together, it
right.
makes sense if you think about it.
It does, yeah. I
Right?
mean, now that we've outlined it, it does make
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Now you also have you mentioned the platform, but the platform is actually coming out with an app sometime shortly after we're recording this. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we did a lot of research and we realized that an average functional medicine consultation cost is about $800, and then it can run up to $2,000, $3,000, right? So the app had to be affordable. So the app is coming out
Mhm,
in July. The
mhm,
launch is supposed to happen this week or around July 4th. And the whole idea is when the app comes out, it's a self-care, the first phase, what we talked about.
mhm.
And so super excited. The women can navigate at their own pace, depending on what symptoms they have. They can at least start on the journey of embracing the holistic therapies.
And we'll include a link to your website so that they can find it easily. But what is the name of the app? I mean, what are they going to be looking for?
So NourishDoc Bloom by NourishDoc. That's what we are naming it. So we will be posting it on our website, where
Mhm.
the link, the QR code, where people can download. But for now, people can go to our website. If they have any questions, they can send us some kind of inquiry. And the third part, the $250, when if they want one-on-one, that piece we are going to launch it next month after
Mhm.
the app is launched. It's not going to be live right this minute. We want to test the app first, launch it, get that going, and then the other part would be a highly curated set of net professionals, holistic experts, as I mentioned, so that we have to make sure that we are serving each and every state in US, because we'll have to comply with that. So that part we will launch, I think, in August, September
Mhm.
timeframe, not right
Okay.
away.
And
Yeah.
as someone who has only a minimal experience, but some experience with building apps and knows
Mhm.
how important it is to do the testing, thank you for doing the testing. There are a lot of
Yeah.
apps that get launched without a whole lot of testing done. The testing is very important. It makes
Yes.
the whole app experience better. So thank you for doing that. That's really
Yeah.
important.
So we've been testing it for last month. We were supposed to launch it in May, and then we test. That's what's happening.
Yes, indeed. That's the app
Yeah.
game is a fun game. I hope you're all ready to play. Couple things I want to touch on before we finish up. First of all, thank you for being here and for sharing all this great information. Do you welcome outreach from women who have specific questions, who just want to reach out and find out more about, how do I navigate this road? And if so, how do they find you?
Yeah, well, women are welcome to reach out to me, and I mean, right now it's www.nourishdoc.com.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you will put the link in the
We'll put
show
that in the show
notes.
notes, right?
Yeah, and then the email is hello@nourishdoc.com. If they go on our website, there is a form also, contact program advisor. They can fill that form, and
Mhm.
if they want to talk to me, I'm happy. I'm accessible,
Okay.
so they can say, "I want to talk to Amita." But the main thing is the app comes out, and that's how we're going to start conducting. I'm not a
Sure.
medical doctor by any chance. So, but all I can say is share information and what is going to come, all the data that is coming in the app, all the information that is coming in the app. You won't see me, you will see the experts,
Right.
right? I'm just a face of the brand who's talking about and trying to help women out there. That's what I'm doing.
Well, actually, that touches on the last thing that I want to touch on before we
Mhm.
wrap up here. I noticed a couple years ago that so many people have come through here on the program talking about discoveries they've made in their lives, things they're sharing with others. Oh, I went through this hell and came hell and back, that kind of a thing, and I had this wonderful thing that happened in the middle of it. I learned this. I want to share all that. I mean, all kinds of stories like that have happened. One of the things that I noticed, though, at one point about 2 or 3 years ago, was that not only do they come onto my program, they come onto other programs, they put
Mhm.
out books, they put out
Yeah.
courses, they're posting on social media, they're doing all this stuff, they're putting a lot of stuff out for free, they're putting out YouTube
Yeah.
videos and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And there's a large chunk of people who consume that content who they never hear about. They don't know what happened with them, and they don't know what the
Yeah.
advantages were, and the people benefit from them, and they never hear about the stories.
Yeah.
And that's where I realized there's this gap. There's this massive
Mhm.
gap in the way our whole system works here.
Yes.
Because that means you're not hearing about these people that you've been helping in many
Mhm.
ways. And it's easy to forget that. It's easy to overlook that. It's easy to
Yeah.
think that, well, nothing's really happening there when stuff is actually happening.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
like to make it a practice to say, on behalf of those women you've never met, never seen, never will meet, never will see, who you've been helping by putting out this information, by doing the shows, by putting out the videos, the books, and all that, by doing all the stuff that you do, by doing all that on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing because you're
Thank
making a difference in this world.
I hope so. That's the intent.
And
That
it's
honestly is
important.
my intention, to
Yeah.
help other women. When I realized the depth it can impact relationships and all these things, I thought it's not just a medical thing, it's beyond that,
Mhm.
like you and I had talking, how
Right.
it impacted your life, right? If you
Yeah.
had known, it would have been different,
I
maybe.
like to hope so. I'm not sure what I would have done, but I know I
Yeah.
would have tried to help somehow if I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Amita Sharma, thank you again for joining us on the program, for sharing this stuff. I wish you all the best of luck with with the platform that you guys are launching now, and with the app when it comes out in the next month or two.
Thank you.
Keep doing the work you're doing. It's important work.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.